Hey, I'm Sandy, and I work with teams to help them improve their overall collaboration style in aspects like decision making, idea generation, OKRs, or reflecting and learning. And I do this often in a workshop format, and I thought, why not share the things that work for me to give you some inspiration for your work? Don't you just love this 80s intro? I think my parents owned tracksuits with that color when I was a kid. So today I want to tell you about a cool little method that I like to use when the session I facilitate is about coming up with ideas for a certain topic, involve everyone in the room and actually make a decision on it. I mean, we've all been there, right? Brainstorming where discussions go in circles and you never get any decision, or you have the two or three people in the group who are usually the loudest, and they impose their ideas on everyone else, and everyone else being happy to just tag along, to just get this meeting over with, to leave the room as fast as possible, to, dear universe, please spare me another minute of this inefficient meeting, right? So I like to use liberating structures a lot. These have been invented by two guys named Keith McCandless and Henry Lebmanowitz a while ago, actually, and they tackle this very problem, right, of engaging people more in sessions, workshops, or meetings, and drive better results. And the liberating structure that I want to talk to you about today is called 1-2 for all. You can find out more on liberatingstructures.com. You have currently over 30 microstructures, and here you can see 1-2 for all is one of them. So 1-2 for all is pretty neat because it's pretty easy to learn for you as a facilitator. It's pretty easy to facilitate. I'm using the word pretty a lot. It's very easy to follow for participants in your workshops. Especially if the group or the team you're facilitating the session for doesn't have a lot of experience with workshops yet. And I prepared a little example on a Miro board that I will walk you through in just a second. I will just talk about the basic idea behind this liberating structure. So the numbers 1-2 for all basically stand for, all is not a number, but you get the idea, stand for the amount of people who are interacting with each other and talking with each other at any given step throughout the process. So we start by ourselves, taking notes alone, pumping out ideas alone, not talking to anyone. We go together in pairs, and then after we go together in groups of 4, and then we come together as a whole team and make the final decision, basically. I use this all the time. I use it for my OKR plannings, for example, or when I facilitate a session that is about coming up with ideas, collecting ideas from everyone in the room, and actually boil it down to a decision and actually make a decision by the end of the workshop. And I want to engage everyone as good as possible. But let's take a look at this example that I prepared for you. Okay, welcome to our little example. I'm going to do this in one roll, so if I slip up, I'm sorry. So if I would be the facilitator for this session, I would prepare a Miro board with the sections that I'm going to show you in just a minute. This video is not sponsored by Miro, by the way. I wish. Miro, if you want to sponsor me, I'm open. Let's get to know the team. So let's say we have Team Fabulous here. Do you recognize them? So we have Celine Dion, Kristen Stewart, Jamie Clayton, the Duck from Friends, Cher, Shaquille O'Neal, Queen Latifah, and Chandler. And let's say this team wants to throw a Halloween party, and they want to come up with ideas for that Halloween party, and they want to use their, let's say, weekly 1-hour team meeting time slot to come up with ideas. So I would prepare something like this. So for One to For All to be effective, there are some crucial things that I always look out for as a facilitator, and I'm going to walk you through them as I walk you through the whole example. So two crucial things right at the beginning are prepare for each of the steps, right? And number two, be really strict on the time boxing. So there are various things that can influence how long you want to set your time box. For more complex topics, I would add a few minutes to the time box. For the topic of coming up with ideas for a Halloween party, 5 minutes seemed to be like a good starting point. So as you can see, I prepared a little individual space for everyone, and I would invite them to really zoom in, to not be biased by what others are writing, and they can only focus on their ideas. And it's really about just pumping out ideas. It's not about quality at this point. It's just getting your ideas, one idea per sticky note, onto the board, and then we can move on. So this could be something like this. So everyone came up with ideas. There's no restrictions. And after the 5 minutes, I would invite the participants to go together in pairs. So we have the two phase of the 1-2 for all. I would do this in the virtual space by creating breakout rooms and assigning the respective time box to the breakout rooms. You can add like 1 or 2 minutes here as a buffer so people have the chance to go into the rooms and get some orientation where they are, so they don't feel too rushed, you know. So what I would tell them or give them as a prompt for the two phase when they work together in pairs is to present each other what ideas they came up with. And this is another crucial thing. If you don't want to get overwhelmed with hundreds and hundreds of ideas, I always tell the participants to put a cap on how many ideas they need to agree on in this phase. So, for instance, in this example, I told them, please present your ideas to each other and agree on maximum 2 ideas that you like best to move forward with. So it could look like this. So Celine and Kristen agreed on one idea that Celine came up with and one idea that Kristen came up with. They could also combine their ideas or come up with completely new ideas like Chandler and the Duck did. So limit the amount of ideas that they agree on in this phase already. So after this phase, I would assign groups of 4. So we are in the 4 stage of 1-2 for all. And this goes basically like the step before. It's just 4 people talking at this time. So I would also tell them, please limit your ideas that you agree on to a maximum number of 2. Of course, you can play around with that. It's just for this example. And again, they can agree on an idea that they had in the previous step, or they could come up with a completely new idea. The other group did the same. And then we go into the all phase. So in the all phase, one thing is very crucial. So we don't end up with 8 people talking at the same time. So basically the thing that we wanted to prevent in the first place. I would tell the groups to name a spokesperson for each group. So it could look like this. As you can see, Celine and Queen Latifah have been elected spokesperson of their respective groups. They got little crowns. And these 2 do the talking, right? So again, it's for another 5 minutes for the final decision to come up with the final 2 ideas that they want to do for their Halloween party. And while these two talk, they can ask their other teammates for input, or the other teammates can offer input if they have any. But the talking is between these two. And there you have it. So if you do the math, 4 times 5 minutes, it's 20 minutes. If you add a little buffer for you to give the instructions and for people to switch rooms, like 10 minutes buffer max, it can be done in 30 minutes. And that's 1, 2, 4 all. All right, so let's conclude with a few facilitation tips that I have for you to ensure you provide a good experience for your participants and to save you some pain. So the first tip I have for you is to do the math before the workshop. So in this example, we had 8 people, which is pretty neat for the 1, 2, 4 all structure, but you might not always have 8 people or 16 people in your workshop. So you might have 7 or 10. So you will have to structure the groups differently. But be sure to do this in advance and prepare the space for it. The second tip is strict time boxing. I've told you this before. People will learn to really think about what they want to say, do it in a concise and concrete way, and not to ramble on. Plus, it creates some kind of tension and, positive pressure to not overthink, right? So to not overthink ideas and to just go with the flow. Of course, as I said before, you can play around with time boxing a little bit, adding a buffer here and there, especially if people need to switch rooms or go together in groups, and to account for that. But still, be strict on the time boxing. Number 3 is limit number of ideas. Not limit number of ideas when everyone works in their individual phase, but as soon as they go together in pairs or groups. So that saves you from a huge amount of ideas to choose from in the end, and they can, choose what ideas they like best and leave others out of the picture. And the last one is start alone in silence. This is so important, to not get too rambling, to talking, but just everyone to have a few minutes to themselves, pump their ideas out, not think too much about it. Don't be influenced by any other person, but just write out their ideas, and then we can move forward. And that's it for today. So thank you for watching. I hope you find this useful. Have fun experimenting with it, and send this video to someone you think might find this helpful. Bye for now, and see you in the next video. Take care.